Ladies and gentlemen, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Well, it is Sunday night here in Taiwan. It's the 24th of January, 2021. And just yesterday, on Saturday, the 23rd of November, I joined a lot of you at the Side Hustle Convention. We had close to 800 people on the live training, and we shared a very important message. If you want to start your side hustle, if you want to start to have multiple streams of income, if you want to create that financial stability for your family and for yourself, then there's one thing that you've got to stop doing right now. And the one thing that you've got to stop doing right now is you have to stop second guessing yourself. If you second guess yourself, you're going to doubt yourself. As you doubt yourself, you're going to compare yourself to other people. As you start to compare yourself to other people, you're going to have a fear of being taken advantage of. You're going to have fears of rejection. You're going to have fears of criticism. You're going to have fears of losing your stability. And you're going to have a fear of making a mistake. And as you second guess yourself, it makes you weak and it slows you down. And so if there's one thing that you can take away from yesterday's Side Hustle Convention, it's this. It's to start. Remember, every master was once a disaster. When you look at people today who are succeeding, when they started, they had to go through that same learning curve as you're going through. And so remember, everything is hard before it's easy. It takes about 95% of your mental energy just to begin the journey. And so remember, you've got to stop second guessing yourself. How do you do that? First of all, you've got to increase your belief in yourself. You've got to remember you've got enough knowledge, you've got enough skill just to start today. That's the first thing you can do. The second thing that you can do is you've got to stop comparing yourself to others. The problem with making comparisons is most people compare in the wrong direction. Most people look at the expert, the person who's been in the field for 5, 10, 20, or even 30 years, and they compare themselves from where they are today to somebody who's so much further down the path and who's climbed so much higher up the ladder. And they look from the bottom of the mountain to the top of the mountain and they say, wow, I'm not smart enough. I don't have enough money. I don't have enough time. I don't have enough connections. But they're comparing themselves in the wrong direction. The only place that you should compare yourself to is the person who you were last week, last month, last year. Never compare yourself against others. Once you start to compare yourself against others, you'll find your own inadequacies. You'll focus in on those inadequacies. You're going to blow them out of all proportion. And then you're going to feel insecure. As you feel insecure, you will then fear losing your stability. And these things are like a handbrake on your success. So ladies and gentlemen, if you're watching me live this evening, say hello. Say hello. Let me know where you're joining me from this evening. And also let me know, did you join me at the Side Hustle Convention yesterday? If you're there, let me know in the chat box below. So what have you got to do? You've got to remember that you've got to stop second guessing yourself. And then you've got to stop comparing yourself to others. As soon as you do that, your level of self-esteem and your level of self-worth will start to increase. Because every time you compare yourself to others, you start to reinforce your own self-limiting beliefs. And your self-limiting beliefs are sometimes your biggest obstacles to success. There's nothing out there preventing you from having side hustle success. There's nothing out there preventing you from starting your business today. There's nothing preventing you out there to calling on potential customers. The majority of the obstacles, 80% of your life's obstacles, are going to be inside of here. They're going to be incongruencies. It's going to be fears, doubts. You're going to be comparing yourself to others, and those things are going to get in your way. And so you've got to start to overcome those. Every time you overcome one of those obstacles, your confidence increases. And there's one thing that is in common with all successful business people. All successful business people started with no confidence. They did what was necessary. They took action on a daily basis. As they became more competent in what they did, they become more confident. And the more confident they became, the more competent they became at what they did. And so if you're just starting your journey today and your confidence is low, that's okay. That person you aspire to be like started with little to no confidence. They started with some hopes. They started with some dreams. They failed a lot. They learned a lot on the way by learning what not to do. And then eventually they got their traction and it started to work for them, and it can also work for you. So if you're joining me here on the live this evening, say hello. Don't be a stranger. Let me know where you're joining me from this evening. Are you here in Taiwan, Thailand, Singapore, Malaysia? Are you joining me from the Middle East? Are you joining me from Europe? Say hello. So you got to stop second guessing yourself. And once you stop second guessing yourself, you've got to start to build up that confidence. As you become more confident, you become stronger. You enforce your boundaries. You also start to gain a lot of momentum. You start to get traction. You start to move faster towards your goals. And what you'll find is as you start to speed up, everything becomes so much easier. It becomes easier the faster you go. But you got to start. Remember, when we wrapped up the Side Hustle Convention, we said the most important thing for you right now is what you do next. And it's taking those ideas that I shared with you and it's now implementing them. So you had a big goal. You had a big goal, and some of you had $1 million goal for your side hustle. Beautiful. What you've got to do, you've got to take that big goal and then you've got to start to break it down into bite-sized pieces. Because if you go from $0 to $1 million, that's a really big jump. And if you've never earned $1 million before, your unconscious mind says, this is not possible for me. It's possible for him, her, and them, but it's not possible for me. So you got to take your big goal and then you got to break it down into bite-sized chunks. So the question is, how do you do that? Well, it's a reminder from yesterday. What you do is you take your $1 million goal and you divide it by 12. When you take your $1 million goal and you divide it by 12, there's your monthly goal. As soon as you see $1 million divided by 12, you look at it and you go, wow, that's absolutely possible to achieve that in a month. But even at that big jump there, it may feel impossible for you. So you take your monthly goal and then you divide it by 4 and you break it down to another 4 bite-sized chunks. And as you look at that 4 bite-sized chunks, you probably say to yourself, I have earned that much before. And then once you take the weekly chunk, you break it down into daily chunks. How much do I need to earn every single day? And you look at that and you say to yourself, actually, I already earn that type of money today. I'm just not doing it every day. And so what you do is you look at it and you say, well, that is possible. That is achievable to do that. And then you take that 7-day goal and then you divide that by 8 because you're going to work plus minus about 8 hours every day. And once you look at that 8-hour goal, then you say that's absolutely possible. And then when you break it down to your minute-to-minute goal, it's almost laughable. And so remember, once you start with your big goal, you've got to break it down. The more that you break it down, the more plausible it becomes to your conscious and your unconscious mind. It's more congruent, and then that belief goes up that you can achieve that smallest chunk. And if you just achieve that small chunk day in, day out, every day for the next year, then you'll get your $1 million goal. And then you'll start to realize that it was quite easy. Because as you see yourself earning $1 million, you'll realize there's other people out there earning 10 million, and you'll repeat the process and you'll have more success. So remember, if in 2021 you're starting your side hustle, you got to stop second guessing yourself. You got to get clarity on your goals, and then you've got to take daily action towards it. Not all the action that you're going to take at the start is going to work. You're going to find that you're going to make a lot of mistakes at the start, and that's all part of the learning curve. See, what happens with the learning curve, at the start, you go into this decline. Your hopes are high, but then you've got to figure out what doesn't work. You spend a lot of money in the learning curve, you take a lot of action, and you don't get a return on your time or energy invested into your business. But eventually, what happens is once you've learned and you've got through making all those mistakes, then you go into a growth phase. And so you always start in a decline, into a learning phase, and then you start to go into a growth. And this is the same for every single company. It's the same for Apple. It's the same for Microsoft. It's the same for Coca-Cola. Every time they introduce a new product, there's a learning curve. It's like like Apple. They've just released these $550 headphones. Whilst they were in development, they spent all of their money and they had to figure out what works, what doesn't work. They take it to market, they do a sample test, and then they figure out what people want. They then bring it to market and then they start to get traction, and then it grows and grows and grows and grows. And then eventually, after maybe a year or 2 or 3 years, maybe 5 years, then there's no demand for that product and the business goes into a decline. That's just called the life cycle of the business. It's like a S curve laying on its side. So remember, you're going to go through that learning curve, but if you do what successful people do, you'll accelerate through that learning curve. And if you do what successful people do, you're going to get the same results and you're going to go into that growth curve. Into that growth curve, you start to make money, you start to pay yourself, you start to get a return on your investment, you start to attract investors, you start to attract the right people to help you get to a new level. And so, first thing, you got to stop doubting yourself. You got to stop second guessing yourself. Ladies and gentlemen, if you're joining me live, say hello in the chat box. Let me know where you're joining me from. First of all, you got to stop second guessing yourself. And then you got to set your goals. Remember, if you can see it in your mind, you can hold it in your hand. But if you can't see it in your mind, you'll never be able to hold it in your hand. So you got to get clarity on your goals. You got to figure out where you want to be 1 year from now. Here's something interesting. If you've got a small goal, you'll get little to no motivation. And so what you've got to do is you've got to set yourself a big goal. Because when you set the big goal, you start to apply the principle of stretching. You start to get out of your comfort zone. So imagine this. Imagine setting a goal to increase your income by $10 this year. If you set a goal to earn an additional $10 this year, tomorrow morning, 6 a.m., your alarm clock will go off and you'll hit snooze. Absolutely guaranteed. Tuesday, you'll hit snooze. Wednesday, you'll hit snooze. Why? Who wants to go to an extra effort to earn an extra whole $10 this year? You know what I'd do? I just wouldn't drink Starbucks for 2 weeks and I would have already saved $10 and it would be far less effort. I could just not turn the air conditioning on for about 5 minutes a day here in Taiwan in summertime and I'd save myself $10 and I wouldn't even have to change who I am. And so if you have a small goal, it doesn't help you get motivated. Big goals help you get motivated. Stretch goals push you outside of your comfort zone. And then what happens is you get a little bit scared and then you got to fight for what you want. And that's when you get 3 very important chemicals in your body. Your brain releases 3 very important chemicals to help you achieve your goal. See, when you set a goal, you get dopamine. Dopamine gets you focused. You're about to chase, you're about to take action, and it helps you get focused. Once you're focused on what you want, your body starts to release adrenaline, and you get this adrenaline rush. If you've ever stood on a very high cliff or looked over the side of a very high building, you get this incredible adrenaline rush. Ladies and gentlemen, if you're joining me live, say hello. Let me know where you're from. Tell me, did you join me on the Side Hustle Convention yesterday? And if you did, tell me what you most enjoyed about it. And so as you start to move towards your goal, you get an adrenaline rush. That adrenaline rush makes the heart pump. It sends blood, oxygenated blood into your muscles, and you start to move fast. And then when you start to achieve your hourly, your daily, your weekly, your monthly, and your yearly goals, you start to get a flood of serotonin. And serotonin is nature's happy drug. Once you have serotonin, you don't have anxiety, you don't have fear, you don't have sadness, you don't have depression, you don't get held back by guilt. You start to feel good. You have a natural high. And these are the 3 chemicals. And I wrote a book called, what was the book called? The book was called Free Drugs for Entrepreneurs. And once you set and achieve your goals, you get the unfair advantage. So remember, you need to do that. Once you set your goals, you've got to focus on what you want, and then you've got to stop comparing yourself to others. Don't compare yourself to the expert. Compare you to who you were yesterday, last week, or last month. Never compare yourself to the best. Only compare yourself to who you were yesterday. One day, Once you start to climb the ladder and you want to take on the giants, then compare yourself to them. But at the start of your journey, only compare yourself to who you were yesterday. So, you ready to go? You ready to crush 2021? Are you ready to set and achieve those goals? Are you ready to stop second guessing yourself and go into business with confidence? Because if you are, we're here to support you. We hope that 2021 is your best year yet. And if there's anything we can do to support you throughout the year, make sure you reach out. There's hundreds of videos here on my YouTube channel, instructionals for NLP, sales, business success. Watch my YouTube channel. Make sure you pick up my books. They're free. You can download them from my website, and make sure you attend one of our 100x DNA masterclasses. The next one, we will have more than 1,000 guests. We've got more than 1,000 people coming to the upcoming 3-day 100x DNA, where you're going to learn how to stop self-sabotage. You're going to learn to overcome your self-limiting beliefs, and you're going to start to increase your emotional intelligence so you can make more sales and a lot more money. So, ladies and gentlemen, have a lovely Sunday evening, and we'll talk to you soon. Ciao for now.